What would you do if the man who delivered your dinner was also delivering something far more intimate to your wife? The glowing screen of her phone, clutched tight in her hand at 2 a.m., cast a sickly blue light across her face, illuminating a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. A notification, barely visible, flashed across the top. On my way, babe. My heart a drum against my ribs, knew instantly that the late-night snack she claimed to be ordering wasn't for her stomach. The air in our Brooklyn brownstone, usually thick with the scent of old books and brewing coffee, suddenly reeked of betrayal, a stench so potent it made my eyes water. I pretended to be asleep, my breath shallow, as she slipped out of bed, her movements too careful, too deliberate. The soft click of the front door downstairs, followed by a hushed murmur, confirmed my deepest fear. I lay there, paralyzed, listening to the sounds of my life unraveling, knowing that by morning, nothing would ever be the same. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first time I saw him, he was just a face in the doorway, a young guy in a bright orange uniform, holding a bag of Thai takeout. "Enjoy your meal, Mr. Davies," he'd said, a polite, almost deferential nod. My wife Sarah had taken the bag, her smile a little too wide, her eyes lingering on him for a fraction too long. I dismissed it as her usual charm, a habit she'd cultivated since her days as a publicist in Manhattan. But then the late-night order started, not just once, but several times a week. Always when I was supposedly asleep, always from the same restaurant, always delivered by the same guy. His name, I later learned from the app, was Marco. Humiliation was a slow-burning fire in my gut. I, Mark Davies, a partner at a respectable law firm on Wall Street, was being cuckolded by a food delivery driver. The irony was a bitter pill. Sarah, once the vibrant, ambitious woman I'd fallen in love with, had become a ghost in our home. Laughter was reserved for phone calls I wasn't privy to, her touch a distant memory. She'd started leaving her phone face down, taking calls in the other room, and her explanations for late nights out became increasingly vague. "Work dinner," she'd say, her eyes darting away. "Networking event." The words were hollow, echoing in the cavernous space that had become our marriage. The strange behavior escalated. She'd spend hours in the bathroom, emerging with a new perfume scent, something musky and unfamiliar. Her wardrobe, once a mix of classic and comfortable, shifted to more revealing styles. One evening I found a receipt for a boutique lingerie store tucked into her purse, a store she never shopped at, and certainly not for me. My heart pounded with a sickening rhythm. I started checking her phone when she was in the shower, a violation of trust I never thought myself capable of. The texts were coded at first. "Can't wait for our next delivery, thinking of you, always." Then, bolder, "Miss your touch, Marco, counting down the hours till I see you." My world tilted on its axis. The food delivery guy. It wasn't just dinner he was bringing. He was bringing her pleasure, her attention, her affection, everything she'd stopped giving me, manipulative. When I tried to talk, she'd accuse me of being paranoid, controlling. "You're imagining things, Mark. You're stressed from work." Her voice, once soft and reassuring, now held an edge of contempt. She'd gaslight me, twisting my observations into flaws of my own character. "Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't feel so neglected." The audacity of it, the sheer unadulterated selfishness, was breathtaking. She made me feel like the villain, even as she was tearing our life apart. Marco, I imagined, felt untouchable, a young man enjoying the thrill of a forbidden affair with a wealthy older woman. I pictured his smug grin, his casual confidence, and a cold rage began to simmer beneath my broken heart. I hit rock bottom one rainy Tuesday night. Sarah was working late, and Marco's car was parked 2 blocks away, a familiar orange uniform visible through the rain-streaked window of our bedroom. I watched them from the shadows, saw her laugh, saw him lean in, saw her kiss him. It wasn't a quick peck. It was a lingering, passionate embrace. I felt a primal scream building in my chest, but no sound escaped. I collapsed onto the floor, the cold hardwood pressing against my cheek, tears streaming down my face. My loyal, loving wife, my beautiful home, my entire future, shattered. I lay there for hours, the rain outside mirroring the storm within me, till a new emotion began to solidify. Not just pain, but a chilling, resolute determination. They had taken everything from me. Now I would take everything from them. The next morning, the broken man was gone. In his place was a strategist. I was a lawyer, after all. I knew how to build a case. I started with a burner phone, a discreet camera, and a GPS tracker I slipped into Sarah's car. Documented everything. The late-night deliveries, the clandestine meetings in a quiet cafe on Bleecker Street, the weekend girls' trips that always ended with Marco's car pulling away from a secluded Airbnb in the Hamptons. I hired a private investigator, a grizzled ex-cop named Frank, who confirmed my suspicions and provided irrefutable evidence: photos, videos, hotel receipts, even a recording of Sarah confessing her love for Marco. The proof piled up, a mountain of betrayal, each piece a nail in the coffin of our marriage and a weapon for my revenge. My plan was meticulous, legal, and utterly devastating. I initiated divorce proceedings, citing adultery, a move that would strip Sarah of any claim to my assets and potentially ruin her professionally. I also filed a civil suit against Marco for alienation of affection, a rarely used but potent legal maneuver in New York, designed to publicly expose and financially cripple him. Anonymous tips to a few gossip blogs that specialized in exposing the indiscretions of Manhattan's elite. Hinting at a prominent lawyer's wife and her scandalous affair with a service industry professional, the traps were set. The wires laid. The public exposure was swift and brutal. The divorce papers, with their damning evidence, became public record. The gossip blogs, fueled by my anonymous tips, ran sensational headlines. Wall Street wife's secret lover, the delivery guy, from takeout to trysts, socialite shame exposed. Sarah's carefully constructed image as a sophisticated publicist crumbled. Her clients, wary of scandal, began to drop her. Her friends, once a constant presence, vanished. Marco, too, found his life appended. The alienation of affection suit meant his name, his face, and his role in the affair were plastered across local news. His delivery company fired him, and his reputation was in tatters. He was no longer the smug young man, he was a pariah. The final act played out in a sterile Manhattan courtroom, the air thick with unspoken judgment. Sarah, once so poised, sat across from me, her face pale, her eyes hollow. Her lawyer, a high-priced shark, could do little against the mountain of evidence I had meticulously gathered. The judge, a stern woman with an unyielding gaze, listened impassively as Frank detailed Sarah's every transgression. The divorce was granted, with Sarah receiving only what the law absolutely mandated, a fraction of what she had expected. The alienation of affection suit against Marco resulted in a judgment that would financially cripple him for years. Sarah, stripped of her wealth, her reputation, and her social standing, was utterly ruined. She had nothing left but the bitter taste of her own choices. I watched her leave the courtroom, a solitary figure swallowed by the bustling New York street. There were no tears, no dramatic outbursts, just a quiet, chilling emptiness. My revenge was complete, but it brought no joy, only a profound, cold silence. The silence of a life irrevocably broken. The end.